Hey Menti, it is Dr. Norte. I know we seem a little bit more casual today, and that's intentional. Today we're just getting to know each other a little bit better. We're just staying, okay? So this past week, I posted a reel talking about telling my stories to students that look like me. And a good sis of mine posted, "Tell us the story. We need to hear the story." And I'm like, wow, I don't think a lot of people know the story about my journey getting into medical school. So today I just want to tell you guys the story so that you understand a little bit more about Dr. Norte. So before I get started, of course, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, go down to the bottom, sign up for the monthly newsletter so that you're connected with everything that MKM Mentoring is doing this month and going forward. You definitely don't want to miss out. Alrighty, so I'm not really sure where to start, but I'll start by saying that I was one of those cliche people that always knew that they wanted to be a physician. It was something that was deep in my heart. And when someone asked what I wanted to be, I would always say a pediatrician. Even as a child, I had a heart for children. I was the designated babysitter. I always wanted to mentor. I always wanted to tutor. That was something that I just always wanted to do. So everything that I did in middle school, high school, was to gain a better opportunity of going to medical school. So I go into college and I am really involved. And part of that was because my sister went to the same college as me, or I went to the same college as her, which was Binghamton University. So as a freshman, my sister was a senior on campus. So it was kind of easier to acclimate myself to campus and get involved. So as a freshman on campus, I really just got my feet wet and went to a lot of GBs or general body meetings to see where I fit in. But naturally, I fell into the pre-health space knowing that I had this goal of going to medical school. So I was really involved with our pre-health society, Charles Drew Minority Pre-Health Society on campus. And through them, I started getting my first roles in leadership. So I was educational coordinator and later on becoming the president of the organization in my senior year of college. I was also involved with other organizations on campus, like the Black Student Union. I was also involved in an organization called JUMP, the African Student Organization on campus. So a lot of different things. I would go to their meetings and be involved in their doings. I was also on the STEP team. So I was on X Factor STEP team on campus, which was really, really fun. And then in my junior year, I joined Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So, of course, I was doing a lot of leadership and community service with my sorority, and then also being an RA. So I was a resident assistant. My sister was a resident assistant. Earlier, my parents were like, yeah, this is what we're going to do, right? So I had my hand in a lot of different things on campus, knowing that I needed leadership, knowing that I needed community service, all these things just building up my portfolio of going to medical school right out of college. Knowing that I wanted to go into medical school right after college, I knew that I would need to take my MCAT score in my junior year or before senior year started so that I could be in that cycle, since the process does take about a year to complete. So I remember taking a prep course in my junior year for my exam. And it was about a 6-week course. And then I thought I could take my exam. I was on Student Doctor Network. I was listening to other people and they said, all you need to do is just this thing, take the test, you'll be fine. And at that time, not to be funny, most of the things that I wanted came easy to me. If I worked hard, if I did the things that other people had advised me to do, most of the time I got it. So I thought this was going to be something that was very similar. So I took the prep course, I took the exam, and the score that I got was nowhere near what it needed to be. So at that time, I had also gotten the advice to submit my application before taking my MCAT or getting my MCAT score. So I had done that already. Money was already paid. So now I have this MCAT score that I'm not proud of, but my application is already in the pool. So I remember filling out a few secondary applications. And of course, I was not successful in that first attempt to go to medical school. So now I'm at graduation and it's supposed to be, celebratory. All my family is there, all my friends are there, but I am not feeling like I'm accomplished, which is sad on my part. I can see that now because that I had accomplished a lot, right? So at graduation, I wasn't the happiest, even though I was smiling. So after graduation, I moved back home with my parents. I moved back home with my parents and I start working at my high school job. So in high school, I had started working at Old Navy. During college breaks, I would go back and work. And I went back to working at Old Navy. And this clearly wasn't the plan. I was a cashier, and then shortly after, I leveled up to being a celebrity coach. So I was training new employees that had been hired. And I really actually liked that job. But after some time, I knew that this was not going to work. And people kept asking me, why are you working at Old Navy? And I'm like, I don't know, but here I am. I also started taking some additional science courses as well. I think I had enrolled in anatomy and physiology. I was also taking biochemistry, and it worked with my schedule working at Old Navy. So at that time, I wasn't upset. But I also knew that this was not the plan. I would need to move on at a certain time. I also studied to take my MCAT exam again because to me, I was like, we need to hurry up, Miranda. We need to get into med school. We need to start this, start the ball rolling so that we can become a doctor that we always said that we were going to become. So I sat for my MCAT exam for the second time and I took the entire exam and then I voided it. Yeah, I know. I voided the exam because it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. And I was like, I can't have another score that's bad. I'd rather have a void. So I went back home. I told my parents, yeah, I took the exam, but don't look for a score because I voided it. Of course, they were confused. I was confused. I didn't know. So life kept going on, but I still felt like my timeline kept being pushed back. And that was truly, truly frustrating for me. That was about a year, maybe a year and a half after being home and working at Old Navy. And soon after that, I transitioned and started working at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And at that time, I was a session assistant. So I would book appointments, I would schedule chemotherapy sessions. I got the opportunity to really interact with patients. I then was later promoted and started working in the radiation oncology department. So I really managed the flow. I got a deeper relationship with patients, and I was able to shadow a lot of different doctors in the different fields. And I was able to hear their stories. And I think for me, that was important because I started to envision myself more in that role of being a physician. So it was really a game changer. I really had more time to study for my MCAT as well, which was honestly chef's kiss. So I studied for my exam for the third time and I took it and I feel good about it. I felt better than the past two times that I had taken it. So I took it, I got my score back, and it was better, but it still wasn't it. At that time, the goal score was a 30 and I wasn't there. And I was like, I don't know if this is enough. So I started going to more medical school fairs. I started going to more conferences. I was talking to admissions directors, and a lot of them told me, it's still not it, right? So now they're feeding my feeding my doubt. It's still not it. You need to try again. Maybe you need to change careers. Maybe you need to think about something else. And I was like, man, but I know I need to go to medical school. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I really had a tough decision to make. So I was left with a decision to make. And I decided to do two things. I decided I was going to, one, apply to medical school with what I had. I was just going to take that leap of faith. But I was also going to, two, apply to nursing school as my backup, because after that year, I knew that I needed to be doing something different to further my career. So I applied to a few different nursing schools, and I applied to a bunch of medical schools all over. And I remember filling out secondary applications and just waiting for results, waiting to see what would happen. At that time, I was still going to medical school fairs, and I remember going down to one in DC, and I think it was about November. And I went to a medical school fair put on by the AAMC. And I remember walking around, and there was one table that I wanted to go to and speak to a physician that was speaking to the students, but she had a line of people waiting to speak to her. So I remember saying, I'll come back at the end or later on in order to speak to her. And she was one of the physicians at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. So I remember going the whole day. I was going around to different tables. I was still getting discouragement, but I was like, this is what I have. It is what it is, right? So I remember remembering to come back to the table. And it was the end of the conference. Like, most people had already left. I went to the table. She was packing up her table. She was taking down all of the different advertisements for the school. And I was like, hi, my name is Miranda Norte, and I applied to the school and yada, yada, yada. And she was like, okay, here is my contact information. Just, reach out to me, XYZ. I said, okay. Going back home, one of my friends that was also applying to medical school, she said that she had a contact of one of the admissions counselors at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, so hit her up. I said, okay. So I had reached out to her, and she was like, we have your application. I don't know why your secondary didn't go through. It's supposed to, so she sent it to me. And I was like, wow, okay. Filled out the secondary. That was in maybe the end of November, December. I had my interview, let me not get to lying, in I think January. I had an interview in January. Mind you, I know I still don't have all the stats that people say that you need to get into medical school, but this is what I had. I go on the interview, and the first thing that we have to do is a tour. So we take a tour of the campus. I'm like, okay, this feels okay. It's not too far from home. This may be really good. And the second half of the interviews, they broke us up into 4 different groups, and we each had different physicians or admissions deans that were going to interview us, and we were broken up randomly. And this is where the God in this story really comes out, right? Like, he's in the whole thing, but then when you really, really hear this, you're like, wow, God is in this story. So we were broken up randomly, and I was in the group that was interviewed by the woman that I had met at the medical school fair, last minute, packing up the table that I had met there, and the woman that my friend had given me a contact to. So both those women interviewed me. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I felt good about it. But of course, they're asking about stats and different things that they have to ask. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. So I remember calling my father after that, and I said, I think it went well, but I still don't know. At that time, I was getting rejection letters from the nursing schools that I had applied to. They were rejecting me left and right. Some of the medical schools were also rejecting me. And I'm like, okay, this may not go the way that I thought it would go. So I'd had this one interview, and I'm like, okay. I remember being at work one day, and my dad called me, and he told me over the phone, because African parents opening up your mail, that I had got into medical school. The way I could have fell out at the job, right? I was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. I'm like, this can only be God. I had let go and let God, and He had come through for me. I was rejected from all of the nursing schools that I applied to. And that one medical school said yes. They said yes to your girl. I was going to be the big doctor. And I was so excited. And honestly, it's like you go through all those things in the waiting period to get to that one point, and you like forget all the things that happened before. Wow. I'm telling the story, my own story, and I'm like, wow, God really works it out. If He wants you in a position, He will make sure that you get there. And that's really just the first half of my story. But for today, I think that's enough. So, Mentee, I pray that that story blessed you. I pray that you're able to see yourself in my story and to know that no matter the ups and the downs, no matter the trials, the tribulation, if God wants you somewhere, He will move mountains, part the Red Sea in order for you to be there. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out my latest videos. Make sure that you're getting the information that you need. And make sure that you're staying hooked up with MKM Mentoring because we're doing big things over here. Alrighty, Mentee. Bye-bye.